Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Since 1926, Farm Bureau has been working to preserve Virginia farms and our rural heritage. Visit our website at vafb.com.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce the wonderful local products we enjoy. Brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. A well-known holiday drink is made in Virginia. This sweet and tangy entree could become your next holiday favorite. And we're in Stafford County for our regular county agricultural close-up feature.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Welcome back to Real Virginia, everyone. We're coming to you this week from Silver Ridge Farms in Stafford County. We'll visit more farms in this area later in the show. But first, nothing says the holidays like a glass of eggnog. Ricky Gibson reports from a couple of Virginia creameries who specialize in bottling this delicious drink.
American eggnog evolved from a medieval British drink that included hot milk, wine or ale, and spices. Today's eggnog recipe harkens back to colonial American times when it was a homemade holiday treat. It's a rich, creamy, milk-based product, more of a dessert than a drink. A 4-ounce glass of it can have 200 calories and 10 grams of fat. While commercial dairies sell it nationwide, several Virginia creameries offer their own recipes for local eggnog, starting as early as November 1st of each year and running through the New Year's holiday. Amy Rice with Homestead Creamery says some folks love it, some don't, but it's always a popular product for them and worth the extra effort to make it.
I think eggnog has just always been present at, family gatherings, Christmas parties, things like that. So it always has some sort of presence, with those holiday times. So being with family, being with the ones you love. So it's just kind of cemented itself as a staple. Well, at my grandparents' house, we had eggnog. So now we have to have it, with my kids and my grandkids and things like that. And the best part about homestead eggnog is the local aspect of it.
I know my grandma used to cook it for my grandpa around the holidays, and then towards the end of his life when he really couldn't eat a whole lot because it's so nutrient dense, he liked custard and eggnog. So he would drink eggnog year round just because it was one of the few foods he could tolerate but had a lot of nutritional benefits. So I think part of it is just that nostalgia, and part of it is a unique tasting product. It's thick, it's creamy, it's spicy, it's tangy, but it's still sweet, so it hits a lot of notes for people.
Coley Drinkwater agrees. Some customers of Richland's Creamery would buy eggnog year-round if they could. Each operation has their own unique recipe.
Eggnog is an interesting product. It has its cult following, and definitely as soon as we release it, we see an uptick in the amount of people who are coming to the creamery. And a lot of them will come just to get eggnog. They might pick up something while they're here, but their whole purpose for coming to the creamery that day was to get a couple half gallons of eggnog. And we have customers who will buy it towards the end of the year and freeze it so that they have it year-round.
There are some variations, but you'll typically have, the cream base, and then you'll have nutmeg, cinnamon, cardamom, cloves, like those classic fall spices. So the variations really come with how much of what spice you add in.
Homestead Creamery in Franklin County has up to 6 dairies supplying milk to their plant and sells all their products in traditional glass bottles that are recycled. Richland's Dairy Farm and Creamery in Dinwiddie County is a single-family dairy operation that bottles its own milk products. Both farms used to sell milk to processors, but built their own pasteurization plants and distribution systems to increase their profit margins in the highly competitive dairy business. While eggnog is a sentimental favorite, it's more difficult to produce than other milk products. Planning starts months before the holiday season.
By August, I have to project what my sales are going to be through the end of the year and then place the order, and then by the end of October, I want my ingredients mid-October to end of October in here, ready to go the 1st of November.
We'll pasteurize the milk, and then we'll go ahead and add in those spices and the different things that go into the eggnog, or if it's custard, we'll go ahead and go that route, and then we'll process it, we'll put it in the glass bottles, and then ship it off to stores, or if it's going into the farm market here, it'll just walk next door.
Drinkwater says eggnog is the last product processed each day because it contains several allergens, such as egg products. That means each time they must take extra steps to clean and sanitize their production line. So it's a big push every season to produce eggnog, but worth it.
Eggnog comes at a good time of year for us because our ice cream sales have dipped. So the milk that would have been going into ice cream, and it's not just ours, it's, we have seasonal customers. So we have a couple hundred gallons that instead of going into ice cream mix are now going into eggnog.
Richland's Creamery is 3 years old, and you can buy their products in parts of Southside Virginia, as well as their own store. Homestead Creamery has been in business since 2001, and their products can be found in stores along much of the East Coast. Both have found local eggnog to be a popular product, although Drinkwater says higher ingredient prices mean they won't make a big profit this year.
Some people ask us to carry it year-round. I'm not ready to do that. But we did do a Christmas in July, this past July, where we just ran 100 gallons of eggnog. We only sell it by the half gallon, so that was 200 half gallons of eggnog. We sold it for the weekend, and it's sold out by the end of the weekend.
Most national milk processors offer seasonal eggnog, and the internet has plenty of recipes for homemade eggnog for the holidays. But it's nice to know you can also purchase locally produced eggnog right here in the Old Dominion. In Dinwiddie County, Virginia, I'm Ricky Gibson reporting.
While still a valuable part of the state's farm economy, Virginia's dairy industry has been shrinking in recent years. According to the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, as of November 2022, the number of Grade A dairies supplying liquid milk for bottling is down to 380 farms. There were more than 500 dairy herds just a few years earlier. The number one reason dairy farms are declining is lower milk consumption by consumers, leading to low milk prices. But higher fuel costs and other business expenses are also causing some dairy farmers to exit the industry. Some older producers are also retiring.
Hi, today we're going to be talking about goji berries from the ground up. Please stay tuned.
We're stronger together, especially at this difficult time. For over 90 years, we've watched our membership grow, and we're honored to be part of such a special community. Thank you to the farmers who provide for us every day. Virginia Farm Bureau is proud to serve our members, their families, and to give back to our local communities. That's the Farm Bureau way.
Some home gardeners are already thinking about what they'll be planting next spring. Chris Mullins from Virginia Cooperative Extension says if you're looking for something new, try planting goji berries from the ground up.
Well, hello and welcome. Today we're at Virginia State University's Randolph Farm, and we're going to be talking about goji berries. And you might have heard of goji berries before, but today we're going to talk about what they are and maybe how to grow them. We're here with Dr. Teresa Nartea. She's the agribusiness and marketing specialist here at VSU. And Teresa, goji berries are a really neat type crop, but what is a goji berry?
Goji berries are a very unique specialty fruit crop, and they're grown in China. Actually, they're named the wolfberry in China.
So if somebody was growing these, or were to grow these, and they would pick them, I see the fruit right here, would they need to eat these right away? Or?
With the goji berries, they're highly perishable, and in fact, if you're not careful and you put them in your fridge for even like a week and you don't touch it, sometimes we do that with our fresh produce, it can mold quickly. So what I suggest, what I suggest to do is if you have a dehydrator or you turn on your oven to 100 degrees, you can actually dry them like a raisin and eat them like that.
Could you freeze these?
If you have one of these at your house, one of these antiques, you can actually take your goji berries, and let me show you. A lot of times they're harvested on the, if you look, they're harvested right on the leaves because it's easy for the farmers to do. But actually, if you freeze the whole container and you shake it all up, they'll drop to the bottom, and then you can simply take, 5, I put like 5, and it's okay if you get leaves in there. Put them in there, and I just go ahead and get them out of here, and then I put them in their individual blocks in a Ziploc, and I just put them in my smoothie, and that's an easy way to do it.
Great, Teresa, and I can see that would really preserve them for a while and allow you to use them easily.
Absolutely. So when it comes into season, and you'll learn that later about when they're harvested, and you can ask your small farmers in Virginia to maybe consider growing it for you. And I just wanted to point out here that it is one of nature's superfoods, and it's high in fiber, vitamin A, E, B1, and B6.
So now I want to go over and talk to Dr. Rafi
absolutely.
and see how to grow a goji berry. Okay, we're here at the Goji Berries. We're here with Dr. Reza Rafi. Reza, Teresa did a good job of telling us what goji berries are. Now we want to learn a little bit about how to grow them. So if a grower were to search the internet and find some place to buy these transplants to go in the ground, what time of the year should they plant in most of Virginia?
Yeah, they come in bare-rooted plant.
Okay.
When you get the bare-rooted plant, you usually want to plant them after the last frost, which would be probably in April. You plant them in April, and then definitely it's really, really important to have a soil which is not acidic. They don't like too acidic soil. You want to make sure the soil is above 6 or above, that kind of alkaline soil that preferred. And then what's really, really important is to be able to set up trellises. Trellises is really, really important to be able to get a good production. Also, it produces a lot of sucker. In a sense, if you decide to plant this, you need to be careful because you've got to manage it. Otherwise, it's going to be an invasive crop, and that could cause a lot of trouble.
So by suckers, you mean plants that'll come up from the roots basically further away from this main plant? Okay.
Yes, and then obviously trellises is important. It's a crawling plant. It likes to stay low, but you want to make sure you grab the canes, you bring them up, you tie them up, to be able to eventually create a structure which comes up and stays on trellises. Otherwise, you have a lot of diseases and insect problem if you keep them low.
Are there any disease or pest problems?
Oh yeah, that's definitely a good question. The disease is mildew. Downy mildew and powdery mildew is definitely is a problem, and what we have inside the tunnel where we are growing it is the spider mites. It's a huge problem that you need to definitely stay on the top of that. Aphid sometimes attacks and becomes problematic as well.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a great crop, maybe for the home gardener to try. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think it's a great crop with great potential. As Dr. Natio mentioned, it has a lot of health benefits. You want to make sure you have them, but be careful. Don't let it get out of hand in terms of management, because it could become problematic in terms of an invasive plant species.
Great advice. Thank you for letting us come out and talk to you about goji berries today.
My pleasure.
Well, for more information about how to grow goji berries, contact us at Virginia State University. From the Ground Up, I'm Chris Mullins. We'll see you next time.
From the Ground Up is presented with the generous advice and assistance of Virginia Cooperative Extension. Visit their website at ext.vt.edu.
Hi, I'm Chef Tammy Brawley from the Green Kitchen. Coming up on Heart of the Home, orange chicken. We hope you'll stay with us.
And now, a sneak peek into a day in the life of a Virginia dairy cow. They get their day started. They have some lunch. Get some exercise. Spend time with their friends. And then end their day with dairy sweet dreams. Real dairy, real life, real delicious.
Turkey and stuffing aren't the only comfort food people crave during Thanksgiving. Chef Tammy Brawley shares her own family recipe for orange chicken in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Chef Tammy Brawley, and I'm about to show you some delicious orange chicken. I promise you that after you make this, you'll never order takeout again. We're going to start by making our marinade, and we're going to have just a small pan on the burner here. It's not on yet, though. We have cut up some boneless chicken thighs. Could you use breast meat? Most definitely, but I'm a big dark meat sort of girl. I think it's a better flavor, it brings better fat. So I like to use boneless thighs for this particular recipe. And we've got about 3/4 of a pound here. And we're going to start out with putting the marinade in the small saucepan. And what we have is about 3 tablespoons of chicken broth. We're going to add 3 tablespoons of orange juice. We're going to use a gluten-free soy, or tamari as it's called. 3 tablespoons of that. And we want 3 tablespoons of white vinegar. And we are going to add 1/4 cup of dark brown sugar. And about, I think the recipe says about 1½ tablespoons of garlic. I happen to have some that I've already chopped and I keep in the refrigerator, so we're just going to kind of roughly measure that. And now we want some fresh ginger. This is a ginger root. It has a peel on it, and interestingly enough, for as long as I've been a chef, I just learned recently that you can actually grate ginger and not have to worry about peeling it. So I think that's a great thing. So get that, I just said grate. So we're going to grate the ginger over top of our marinade. And we want a pinch of cayenne pepper. If you like it spicy, then add a little bit more than a pinch. That's certainly up to you. We're going to whisk this up. Now we also want to add some orange zest. So in addition to grating the ginger, I'm going to grate an orange, part of the orange anyway, because we want to use the strips. So we're going to grate part of it. So we could juice this orange if we wanted to, instead of buying the juice in the already in the containers, but I just find this to be a little bit easier. We're going to grate the orange in there. And now we're actually going to peel some orange strips, but we're not going to put those in right away. You'll see those come into play in a few moments. So we're using a serrated peeler here. You don't want to go too far down into the white part of the fruit. It's called pith, P-I-T-H, and it is bitter. So you really just want to go onto the top part of the orange. We've got orange strips waiting, and we've got some hot pepper. So now we're going to whisk this up. Now we're going to use some of it. We're not going to use a lot of it, but we're going to use some of it to marinate the chicken. We're going to use our handy dandy favorite tool in the kitchen. That's a Ziploc bag. So I'm not going to pour a lot of it because I want it to come to a boil, some of it. Put that in there. We're going to add the cut up chicken. And then this is going to rest in the refrigerator for about 30 to 40 minutes. You don't want it to go any more than an hour. And if you want to know why, that is because it is an acid, and acid will break down chicken and it can become mealy. You don't want that. So you don't want it to be marinated more than an hour. We're going to shake this up, and we're going to let this rest for about 30 to 40 minutes or so. We have got the rest of our marinade in our pot on our stove, and what we'd like to do is bring that to a boil, and then we're going to thicken it up with a little bit of cornstarch and water mixture, or a slurry as it's called. So while the marinade is coming to a boil, I'll go ahead and mix in the cornstarch. We've got 2 tablespoons of water, and we want a tablespoon of cornstarch. I usually use a fork for these sort of things. We want this to become somewhat thick because we want it to be a coating on the chicken after it's fried in the oil. It is coming to a boil already, which is great. We're going to go ahead and add the cornstarch and water slurry to it. Now, if this thickens too fast or gets too thick and you don't have enough to really spread around, you can go ahead and add a little bit more chicken stock to it. It's totally fine. I can tell that this has already gotten really thick, so I'm going to actually turn the heat off. And this is where we're going to add the reserved orange peel that we did strips of earlier, and hot peppers. So we're going to get those in there and let that sit, and all that's going to do is simply enhance the orange flavor. We don't need that marinade right now, or sauce. We're going to leave that there. Now we're going to put oil on our burner, and we're going to turn that up on high. And that will take just a minute to get to the temperature we want it. Now what we're going to do is we have a bag of cornstarch, and we're going to add just a sprinkling of cayenne pepper. Again, if you don't like spice, then don't add any at all. Or if you think you added too much to the marinade, you might not want to add any here. I personally love spice, so I don't mind it. We want about a half a teaspoon or so of baking soda. Kind of mix that up a little bit. I can hear our oil is almost ready over here. We have our chicken that we marinated in a bag. First thing we're going to do is pull it out. I do like to use a glove when it comes to raw chicken. So we're going to pull the chicken out. It's going into a bowl with egg whites, just the whites, not the yolks. We beat them up just a little bit and made them a little frothy. All right. Now you really don't want to dump the chicken into the cornstarch. It'll get gummy and everything, and in fact it still might do that. So what we're going to do is just pick it up with our hands, sprinkle off the excess. The recipe usually calls for about 1.5 pounds of chicken. I have a son who, this is his birthday meal every year, and we always have to double the recipe for his birthday dinners. So now we want to seal our Ziploc bag with our cornstarch and red pepper and baking soda. And you want to shake it up, get them nice and coated. Our oil should be ready to accept our chicken to fry. We're going to fry them until they're a nice golden brown. As my culinary professor would say, GBD, golden brown and delicious. Yep, it's starting to bubble, which is great. Now you don't want to overcrowd the pan either. You don't want them steaming, you want them to be fried. So that's why you only add a little at a time. So we could probably do this in about thirds. So this is going to take just a couple of minutes. All right, so we've removed the rest of our chicken here. It's nice and golden brown. And we're going to pour our sauce over it in just a minute. This has the hot peppers, the ginger, the garlic, the orange juice, the orange zest, the brown sugar. We let that get thickened with a little bit of cornstarch and water slurry. And now we're going to mix it up with our nice golden brown chicken. This is one of my very favorite recipes, not to mention my son's. And we absolutely love doing this. And there you have it. Orange chicken, you'll never buy takeout again. I'm Tammy Brawley from the Green Kitchen, and thank you for joining us on Heart of the Home.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafb.com/recipes, as well as on Chef Tammy Brawley's website at greenkitchenrichmond.com.
Chicken production is part of the largest sector of Virginia's farm economy, the poultry industry. In fact, broiler chicken production is the top farm economy, with $625 million in sales each year. There are 800 chicken farms in the Old Dominion, 275 turkey farms, and several commercial egg farms. In 2021, chicken growers raised 284.5 million birds for sale, making Virginia the 9th largest chicken-producing state in the nation. Overall, the poultry industry generated $5.8 billion in sales and direct economic impact that year. Poultry is also one of the top farm exports from Virginia.
With this lush pasture and open farmland, it can be hard to believe that this is part of busy Northern Virginia. As we see in this week's County Agricultural Close-Up, farmers in Stafford County have had to deal with the influx of housing as the D.C. suburbs continue to expand. Located in the southern edge of the Washington, D.C. exurbs, Stafford County has felt the pressure of land prices driven by development. But there's still farming happening here if you know where to look for it. In fact, some Stafford County farming families have worked their land for more than 100 years.
I'm a fifth-generation farmer. My great-great-granddad got caught spying for the Union during the Civil War. He got run out of Spotsylvania County, came across the river, and landed here in Stafford.
Silver Ridge Farm is in the White Oak community of South Stafford. They produce corn, soybeans, barley, and hay on approximately 400 acres. The family also raised cattle.
Before our neighbor's farm got put into houses, we were running about 400 cattle on the whole place. Probably right now, we let our numbers get low, we're right about 250.
Amid the cul-de-sacs and paved streets of Stafford County, it can be a surprise to see green pastures and forest land that hasn't been touched by developers. This area is just off the busy Route 17 corridor and only a few miles away from Craig Humphrey's farm. He fell in love with farming early on.
I've always liked it since I was a little kid. And my dad started off as a hobby farm, and my brother and I grew it to what it is now.
What they're doing now is impressive. All told, the Humphreys manage 1,200 acres, 700 in Stafford, and more in Fauquier and Culpeper counties. They even grow 100 acres of hay in Pennsylvania. In Stafford, they raise cattle and cultivate corn and soybeans. Craig has also experienced many of the same issues other farmers in the area face on the roads.
The main issue we have is just the increase in traffic, and a lot of people won't give us the time of day to move our equipment down the road, and so it makes it tough.
Stafford County has 243 farms on 17,253 acres. The market value of all products is $6,125,000. Crop production makes up more than half of that at $3,835,000, with grains like soybeans and corn bringing in $2,675,000. Nurseries and greenhouse sales account for $403,000, while hay and other crop sales total $348,000. Livestock sales were worth $2,290,000, with cattle and calves accounting for $2,133,000. While development is never far away, one farm that won't be going anywhere is Ferry Farm, the boyhood home of George Washington. It's more of a preservation of how things were when Washington lived there and not an active agricultural site. This area off Truslow Road is a good indication of how things once looked in Stafford County. But as you move further south along the same road, closer to Interstate 95, signs of new home construction are already in place. On the other side of I-95 and the Rappahannock River, Jerry Young is harvesting corn in one of Stafford's remaining less developed areas.
Route 3, King George side, from Stafford to King George is where majority of the open land is left, and a lot of the open land in hardwood that used to be is now all into houses now. Well, a lot of the farms that we used to farm are now subdivisions, and I've seen a whole lot of houses and a whole lot of traffic and a whole lot more people that's come into the area, and a lot of these 2-lane roads are now 4-lane roads, and that's our biggest controversy is moving up and down the road is the traffic and the cars, and a lot of people commute, and a lot of them work out the area, but they live here.
The farmers of Stafford County are working against the tide of residential development, but having a host of new neighbors with relatively high income can be a silver lining.
The best thing about Stafford at this point, and the worst thing about Stafford, is all the houses, because whether it's meeting somebody on the road and having them move their car because I can't get by with my equipment during harvest time, or people not being unhappy with you for how slow you're going down the road, what they deem is too slow. That's the bad, but the good part is with the slaughterhouse, with our butcher shop, I like to think that every day someone moves in, there's a potential new customer.
More potential new customers are coming into Stafford County every day. Farmers in Stafford have seen this trend accelerate in recent years, but they're committed to proving that agriculture can coexist with commuters in the years to come. In Stafford County, I'm Burke Moeller reporting. We're so glad you could join us this week to celebrate all the bounty Virginia has to offer. From the kitchen to your home and garden to our beautiful wide open spaces, we're proud to say that this is Real Virginia. For everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a great week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay.